Hello everyone, welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here tonight with episode 26 of Beneath the Banner's Shadow. This is an Arthurian-themed Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game that's been ongoing for some time now, probably about 2.5 years, give or take. And tonight's episode is called House of Wolves. And I'm very excited to get to that. We have a little bit of an attendance issue, as you might notice. Josh is not going to be able to make it tonight. Something came up at work, and he's just not going to be able to play. I believe Baron will be joining us later. It sounded like something maybe has come up at work for him as well, but he will be here. Eli just joined us, so I'm going to turn off his placeholder thing so you can see his beautiful face. But we're gonna do the same thing we do every session beforehand. I'm going to thank Rachel Ayers for doing all of the shield design, well, the majority of the shield designs that you will see in this game, including the one that you can see up in the corner over there for House Criminac. She was fantastic to work with, and I thank her very much for doing that for us. Subject matter, language. If those things are something that bothers you, if they venture into the mature, then this is not the channel for you. Do not watch this game. I have permission slips from all of these juveniles saying that they can play in this game. Oh, in addition, there is a trigger warning this evening. I have been warned that there will be a scene that is going to be acted out that will have some sensitive topics mentioned in it, at least. Know that safety tools are in place for myself and all the players, so just be forewarned going into this episode. I'm going to pass things over to the players that are here so that they can do their introductions, plug anything that they would like to plug, and then we can get started. So we're going to start with Steve. Gotcha.
Don't start with me. I was mechanically muted. Hi, I'm Steve. Also, I just noticed that my thing says Saradane. I don't know how long it's been that way. I just
this session.
Look at me. What do I need to plug? Nothing at the moment. Nothing at the moment.
Very well. Short and sweet. Just like you. I have no idea if you're short or not. I've never met you in person. Shortish.
I'm not tall. I'm like 5'8" on a good day, so you know.
Oh, that's not. Yeah, that's about the same height. Speaking of about the same height, Karen. I don't understand this segue either. I don't know what's going on. I just work here.
Yeah, and if about the same height you mean a lot shorter, then yeah, that's me. Okay, not too much shorter, but a little bit for sure. Anyway, I'm Karen. I have a channel called Myth and Gears. And tomorrow night we'll be back online with session 7 of our Harbinger campaign called The Awakening. So pretty excited about that. Not much else to plug. Well, I'm playing in the Friday night takeover on MTD happens again this Friday, and I get to play in that game, so I'm pretty excited about that as well. It's going to be run by Connor Davies. It's Cryfoth, so come and check that out. Anyway, yeah, so I'm going to be playing Ariana tonight, and it should be interesting.
It always is. Yeah, anybody who mentions a channel or anything like that, you should be able to find the description to that in, no, I did it again. The link in the description down below. You guys, it's already been an evening. Okay, what could go wrong? We're just gonna push on through here. Last, speaking of pushing on through, no, that's awful. Eli.
It's well-deserved tonight, though. So, hi, my name is Eli. Good to be here. I'm going to be playing Sir John Lightnor, a knight of Vykaril in a foreign land now. I, unfortunately, have neglected a risotto tonight, and that is an involved task, and I'm going to have to jump off here for a second to go take care of that. But I do want to tell you all that tonight is your lucky night to be a final night backer of External Containment Bureau, my latest Kickstarter, which is going on as part of Zine Quest this year. It's closing like in 16 hours. So if you're live, that's how much time you have. If you're watching the recording, chances are, I'm sorry, but you missed it. But yeah, you should go check it out. I'll put a link in the YouTube feed for all of you who are watching live. And then, yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. All right, everybody. We're going to have to wing this a bit. Kind of in Tor's backyard. We're going to have to kind of figure things out without him here for just a little. Go do your risotto thing. And, all right, we're going to kick things off. You're the praying type. Now's the time. There is a moment in almost every undertaken task when the deed appears insurmountable. The toil that it will take to overcome this trial makes it seem impossible to even begin. Doubt, anxiety, and exhaustion begin to take root before the work can even start. But the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We rejoin the 5 heroes of our party, just recently walking away from an ambush that occurred in one of these raised towns that you have passed through, many of them. This one in particular held an ambush of warg-riding orcs who had attacked you and almost succeeded in killing a few of you. But, triumphant, injured, you have managed to survive yet another scrape. You now press further eastward towards the city of Shanin, the house of Criminac's seat, the seat of the duchy, and, at least at one point, towards home. So in the aftermath of this skirmish, this ambush that you have just survived, what's going on? What's happening?
I believe like Ariana she got hurt real bad. I know Sardane helped heal her, but Ariana's been kind of, as we've been getting closer and closer to anger, Ariana's been getting more and more withdrawn and silent. Those at the camp would probably know her sleeps have been more fitful, and she has not been eating. I mean, she hardly ate before, but she hasn't been eating much at like anything. And so you can see that whatever it is taking its toll on her. So I think after the healing, she just disappears into the tent, her tent, just to, I guess, get away.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Because we, after, well, most of us, a lot of us nearly died. I don't imagine we trekked super far outside of this town before, not out of the normal pattern of stopping, but this is probably reminiscent of our early days where we pushed so hard that now we're at that point of having to stop, right? Like Tord's on the verge of a mental break, it looks like, at least to Dane, right? Ari's already had a mental break. And in this last go round, Dane actually momentarily killed Eddard and had to bring that back. So I would imagine that, you know, shortly outside of the town, there's been enough of the sighing and tweaking of muscles, the clopping of horses, the I would imagine this grinding of teeth that you can hear coming from Tord, or maybe it's just that head that he's carrying with him, this teeth as they sort of scrape together. But it gets to be enough that I think Dane's the one that finally just calls for a stop, and he's not gonna brook any guff on it. Like, we're stopping. And so, you know, if there is a visible water source that's a reasonable distance from the road, that's where I'd like to try and direct us to. If not, then just getting off the road a bit, so that we have clear sight lines. I kind of don't want to be around any towns. Every town has sucked since we came this direction. You know, we've been through some tough stuff, but we have been closer to death more times after heading this direction than we have before.
Sure. I think you guys can probably find like a mill that's situated on a river. So it has, you know, like one of those large rotating wheels on the side that's driven by the water. And you made sure that, you know, you're kind of camping upstream of the city, because downstream of the city, you don't want anything to do with that water. It's pretty
Right.
bad.
You know, if Ari's gonna disappear into her tent, and I imagine Tord probably does similar, taking that head of an orc with him. I don't know what that looks like, but in Dane's mind, you know, Tord's literally in there staring daggers into this thing, trying to make sense of everything that's going on. And although Dane only finds it his job to sort of offer those words to sort of get people to say how they're actually feeling and thinking, like, that's not a place I want to be, right? I don't want to be between Tord and the head that he's carrying. That just seems dangerous. And so I think once camp is sort of set and minimally those small chores are tended to, I think I even do less than I normally do, letting sort of Sir John's employees take care of most of the camp. Like, Dane's normally pretty good about checking it and kind of overseeing that. But I think this time, like, if the camera pans, you just see this trail of armor pieces as Dane has sort of stripped down to just his pants and is now standing about thigh deep in this water, just sort of hands in the moving water, letting the blood from the battle, from himself, from Eddard, from Ari, like, I mean, he's covered in it, just sort of rinse off of him as he stands there staring at this distorted reflection, which might be the most apropos image of our group recently, is this distorted reflection. And there's like there's pang, this sort of call for him to cry and lament about this, but I think right now he's just sort of empty, right? That if you compare like compassion and I don't know, the ability to look on a bright side to a well, like Dane's been dipping out of that well and dipping out of that well and dipping out of that well, and hasn't honestly, outside of his friends, had a lot to refill it. And so, he just stands there and eventually just turns around and is looking back towards camp, watching this kind of surreal scene. There's these heroes of Vykaril, and I mean, I imagine at this point, even Sir John is like hunkered and on the verge of almost dragging his halberd or sword with him rather than it being worn proudly. And like the mental image of having a sword sort of beaten to be forged is really strong in Dane's mind, but it just sucks.
So John is indeed tired at the end of this, pushing really hard in the ambush before. He wasn't much of a focus of the battle, but he was there and doing his thing in the background. And he is familiar with, the tragedy and the depravity of war, and he is familiar with long forced marches, but they take a toll. And I think he's maybe not existentially distraught, but he's tired. You can tell his shoulders are slumped. His halberd is kind of like over his shoulder, and you can tell that it's weighing even on his neck, and he's kind of just really tired. But he sees Sir Dane walking off and just sort of stripping off his armor pieces as he goes. And so John kind of watches it for a second, and then he heaves a sigh, and he follows after Sir Dane, not all the way, but long enough to pick up all of his armor pieces. And he sort of, takes them over to Sir Dane's tent and arranges them inside on top of the, chest or whatever that they're stored in normally. And then he goes out, and I think there's a central fire ring that's been set up by my employees, my staff. And I think he sits himself down, and he heaves a big old sigh.
The three of you or the five of you, have settled in, made camp. It's far enough away that the stench of death and of burnt housing and crops is not pervasive. So you have a small respite from it, and sitting beside this water, again upstream from the city or the town, is fairly clean. It's somewhat lulling, if you will. You can almost trick yourselves into thinking that you have found a peaceful place, at least for a time. On the upside, it is quiet. It's very, very quiet. You occasionally might see or hear some wildlife, but that would be the extent. So you are left to your devices for basically as long as you would like. So however much time you need to rest here, you have it.
I think maybe as like this early evening falls, and it's been a few hours of sort of being unmolested out here. I think Dane will help some of the others and sort of that forced, if you do something you'll feel better mentality. So trying to, get an evening meal together, and I don't imagine that even the smell of the cooking food, it really is much to lift many people's spirits. And so rather than, it becoming this sort of party talk around a fire, as we've done in the past, I think, there's a bowl that gets set out beside Tord's tent, and a bowl that gets set over next to Ari's tent. And, sort of forced small talk with just the people of the camp. Being very careful to not complain to them, right? Because we're supposed to be the heroes. We're supposed to be the strength here. And so trying not to complain or ask what's next or why us, I think avoiding those topics of conversation kind of leaves a very quiet and often pause-filled conversation. I think sounds from inside of the tents, either Tord's or Ari's, always has Dane looking over his shoulder to see if it's them coming out, right? If there's some semblance of normality, because there hasn't been anything normal since we started this direction. I mean, between everything we found and secret elf messages carried inside of owls, and like, it's just, maybe it's that sort of transition from young adult to adult, where you realize that not everything can be made better. So just sort of sitting there eating and poking at a fire, unless some other thing comes in here to kill us. Roll for initiative.
Speaking of which, no, yeah, I think Eddard got banged up pretty bad in that fight as well, if I remember right. So
I killed him and had to heal him.
That's right. So yeah, I imagine he's probably laid up, trying to recover. There wasn't much recovery to be had in the saddle, so he's taking this opportunity at camp to probably rest, I would imagine. Tord, there's no telling with Tord. He's probably brooding with a head, like you do, listening to Morrissey. Okay, so I imagine that the night passes uneventfully. We might find out differently later, but for now, at least, it will pass uneventfully, and you awaken in the morning. The rest wasn't bad. Like I said, it's very quiet here. Nothing comes to bother you, and I imagine, even just a casual watch around the fire through the night is more than sufficient to make certain that everybody sleeps soundly. So you all take a long rest if you'd like, or if you need. And the next morning you hit the road again. Before long, you are coming up over a hill, and looking out down below, you can see the city of Shanin. You can see that there are stacks of smoke rising from some of the outlying farms and houses, but the city itself looks largely untouched. You can see the banners, even from this distance, are still the gray of House Criminac. It would appear that you are not too late, that House Criminac still yet holds the city. How would you like to approach? What do you want to do?
This is the place of Baroness something, right? Baroness that Tord knows.
So, the
Or
Baroness.
Duchess,
Are you
I guess.
are you talking about the one who is leading House Criminac?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sketha?
Yeah, it's
So
would
she's
be
actually
Duchess.
the Duchess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right here above my head. Sketha Od Criminac, Duchess of Shanin.
If I do like this, I turn Sir John into a puppet. Well, probably a bit more purposefully than celebratory. When we rode into Sir John's home, we rode in, his colors flying, this sort of like, it's Sir John returning home. This is Sir Tord returning home. So I would, unless he physically fights me on it, I would do the same thing for him, right? Like I would, sort of with a pole or lance, run his colors up, which would be, I guess, a bit weird now because you'd have his colors and then House Pendrake, like however that would sort of, whatever order you'd appropriately fly those in, right? And kind of try and ride a little, high in the saddle as best I can, and try and encourage him and Eddard to do the same thing. Maybe having to ride a little closer to Eddard and help sort of sit him up more upright, so his, he's not doubled over in pain, which I imagine he still is. But trying to give that bit of prestige to Sir Tord in the same way that we gave it to Sir John when he came home.
Yeah, and I imagine Sir Tord would probably be in the front, right? I mean, right behind the.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I might try and take point to sort of almost squire him
Right.
for a moment, but so that yeah, I think he would definitely be up towards the front.
Okay. So you all ride forward, having made this change to the colors that you're flying out front, at least momentarily. You begin to approach, and you can see that immediately that there is a stark difference between the reception that you received in Kerwall whenever Sir John rode in than to now. For one, there's nowhere near the amount of people. There's no one outside the gate of the city. It's desolate and empty. So you ride quietly to the gate, but you can see, even from quite a distance, that the gates are shut and barred. The portcullises are lowered. They're fortified in this moment. And as you ride up, there's an Angorian orc who has been watching you for some time as you rode in, and has positioned himself directly above the gate so that he can call down to you. And he says, "Who goes there?"
This is where we need, I am a suckatord. But I can't do his voice.
Right. So Dane will ride up to the gate and then sort of hold the banner a bit higher. This is Sir Tord. Masaka Tord. Now of the House Pendrick. Returning home.
Pendrake. Home? Are you lost? This is House Criminac.
I look back towards Tord. Yes.
In case you haven't noticed, we're in the middle of a war. You might want to ride on.
I very dramatically look to both sides of me in this barren, empty field. Yes, war. But perhaps you could make an exception and allow us in. I do believe Sir Tord has some news for your Duchess. We've been traveling for many days, seen many dark things. If nothing else, for the news.
Wait right there. And he kind of turns and disappears for a moment. And he comes back just a little while later with another soldier. This one looking like he's probably, some kind of captain. And they kind of talk to one another briefly. And then he calls down and says, "You come to see the Duchess?"
Yes.
"Are you representatives of the crown?"
In ways. Ways best not discussed to open ears on an open field.
Fine. I just hope there's a hell of a lot more of you. And he kind of turns and motions, and you can hear the mechanisms of the door start to creak and turn as the portcullis is raised and the doors are opened wide enough that your entourage can enter. The moment that the last of your party has passed the threshold, they are closing the doors, lowering the bar, and dropping the portcullis back into place. The interior of the city, it's very apparent that something has happened, even if you hadn't seen what had occurred outside of the city. What you're seeing now is a multitude of people who have been displaced from their homes, that have come here for shelter and refuge against the pillaging and the ravaging that's been going on in their lands. There's people just in the street, little stalls and shacks and tents that have kind of just been set up everywhere. People are essentially squatting out in the street for a place to be safe. So the city is very crowded with Angorian orcs, and all of them are turning and looking to you as you ride through the streets for handouts, for help, for anything. Food, drink, coin, begging for aid.
So John is used to this, and he usually, has some pence or whatever on his hand to hand out. But this is at a scale that he's never seen before.
I imagine as we kind of ride in and this refuse of humanity starts to sort of move around us, not intentionally trying to pen us in, right? But everybody wants to have that hand in there for a chance to get something. I think Dane drops back to ride next to Sir John. I don't know how much good coin will do them. From the looks of it, Shanine can't handle this many people. So even if they have coin, there's no bread to buy, no meat to be had.
Would you prefer we do nothing?
No, but I think if we don't stay long and watch what we eat, we carry some supplies. Not enough for all of them, but for the sick, the children.
Yes, I will speak with Constance. We'll see what we might be able to spare.
I think Dane nods to you and then drops back so that he's now next to like the wagon we have that carries a lot of our stuff. And with the precision of someone who packs this cart often, I'm going to reach into it and off the back, and I'm going to grab the bedroll and the tent and the blanket that belong to me, and I'll hand them to some of these people that don't have anything. Right, that's got to be better than nothing. And I do try and hand it to, a mother or an older orc, which is what, like 30. And I guess for the feel goodness of it for them, Dan would also hand out coin, even knowing that it's not necessarily going to do anything, right? It's there's security in being given money even when there's not a place to spend it, right? Like you feel like you have something. But I also know that we can't get stuck in this, right? Like it becomes that the more you hand out, the more people are now flocking in, and I don't want it to become an issue where we get stuck or we get robbed or, Tord gets stressed and loses his temper in the middle of this. I imagine it's got to be hitting him harder than any of us.
I would imagine it is, yes. He's probably somewhat occupied with looking around at the various faces, as if he's trying to see if he knows any of these people, or maybe he's searching for somebody he does know in this crowd. So
This entire
go ahead, please.
And this entire time, while we've been walking, Ari's been kind of riding in the back for this procession, kind of probably just in front of the wagon, so you would have seen her there. She's actually dressed like she always has her veil on when it's daylight, but this time it's like a completely opaque one almost from the front, so you can't see and can't see past her face. And the entire time that you guys are talking, you're handing out this stuff, she is just sitting as straight as possible on that horse, and her face, like her head hasn't moved. She's staring straight ahead. Never once does her head turn to the sides as we're passing through all of these people, these poor, helpless kind of people on the sides. Like, she doesn't move. She sits ramrod straight on her horse and just follows along.
So you ride through, making your way towards perhaps a somewhat less crowded area. Maybe you're making your way further towards where the keep is, where the Duchess is likely to be. Are you looking for a place to try to stay, like an inn or a tavern that might still have space available to you? Are you looking for a place to establish a camp somewhere? Or are you just going to ride to the noble's house and hope maybe they have space available for you? What's the plan now that you're here?
That last one is probably the one that would occur to Sir John first. I think he would sort of take the lead of the column and next to Tord, I guess, and get directions from Tord guiding us there and sort of communicating that back to Constance and the other retainers.
Okay, so you continue to make your way through the city of Shenin, and night has started to fall. As you are nearing the higher end of the town, kind of near the center where the keep itself is located, you have to pass through several more checkpoints, essentially, of guards who seem to be questioning people with more and more scrutiny as you're getting closer to the keep. And oddly enough, they seem to question all of you a little less than they do Tord. They seem to be checking more of who he knows, what his lineage is. They don't seem to recognize House Mirth, the green with the two ravens in flight on it. But Pendrake, oddly enough, seems to get some recognition, which is the first time that any of you have ever seen this. They even, once they hear that name and they see the emblem that is depicted on Eddard's belongings, there's almost I don't know if reverence is quite the right word, but they seem to respond to that title, to that house name. And that seems to open more doors for you than anything else. So you ride into the courtyard of the keep, the castle itself, and are met with footmen and things that come out to take your horses to stable and whatnot. There's I don't know what the title would be, but essentially, like a valet or something that comes forward to greet you and I guess screen you would probably be the best way to put it. And he essentially says that the Duchess is busy at the moment. There's a lot to be planned for and taken into consideration. There are many advisors that she has to listen to. Is this something that could wait?
In fairness, it might. But if I understand Sir Tord here correctly, and what we've seen and experienced, it would need her ear soon, as it does concern itself with the greater goings on.
This news that you bring, it has to do with pillaging.
Pillaging is not the only darkness we've discovered in your lands.
See. I was told that you were, at least in some fashion, emissaries for the crown. You carry word from the Royal Highness as to what the kingdom's response will be to our pleas for help?
All right. In fairness, we did just have a conversation with her, right?
The
Like,
Queen? You did.
in a boardroom. Yeah.
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 Yep.
But she didn't actually tell us anything about this that I remember.
The White Witch kind of told you that it was going on,
Yeah.
that it needed to be addressed.
Yeah. Yeah, but maybe that's not something you just bring up to everybody.
I just give you guys the information. You
We
do with
were-
what you want.
None of us is Her Highness, nor can we speak definitively on her part. But we were entrusted to her council, privately, to speak of matters that concern both Vykaril and here.
We are part of Vykaril, sir. He kind of corrects you.
I don't change what I say. It's not that I don't mean to disclude you from Vykaril. Just that the things that are going on have grown so large that they no longer seem to affect one kingdom, one province, one town, one city, but Vykaril as a whole. But were I to lay that at your feet in this moment, a man who's already laden with so many other duties, it felt better to speak in general terms and then also reassure you that we bring news that directly affects your home.
Of course. I see. You'll have to forgive me. It has been a trying few weeks. Please. This way. And he kind of turns and gestures towards the opening in the castle beside him. All right.
So I think Dane falls back next to maybe Ari answer John. I don't know how much longer I can keep talking in circles.
Yes.
All right, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, and nice ambiguity on whether we were being told these things by the Queen or,
Does it seem strange that Pendrake would draw more favor than towards own know where we've gone so far? Has anyone outside of the crypts raised an eyebrow to the name?
Perhaps they know the legends here better than most, and perhaps Tord left in disgrace. We don't know much about him. So John says, kind of way under his breath, so that
Just imagine Tor
Tord-
standing right behind you.
yeah.
Nonetheless, I suppose for now we accept their hospitality and try to prepare some semblance of news for the Duchess.
Well, there is plenty of news to relate.
Yes, but
I don't know how many people have come out here from the Midlands.
well, I guess we'll see.
Indeed.
So, the lot of you are taken to a form of apartments, I guess. Being that you have a seated baron amongst you, you are definitely allowed to stay here within the castle if you'd like. So they take you to this kind of small apartment so that you can prepare yourself. Change clothing if you'd like. Maybe wash off the grime from the soot from the road. Although Tord would probably be the first one to tell you that there's no reason to go to quite the same lengths that you might if you were to meet another Duchess or Duke. That Duchess Sketha is a little more, a little more your speed. She's a little more used to the grime in the blood and the fighting than she is the courtly ways. So I think with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and take our break. We're gonna hope that Baron is able to slide in here, because this has been awkward so far, but it's only just gonna get worse if he's not here to speak for his character. And I don't know. I'll try to come up with something that we can do to bamf and fill time. But we'll see. In the meantime, the three of you invent something that you're gonna do, getting ready to meet this Duchess, whatever that's gonna be. But
my name is Tord. I talk like this. Nailed it.
I'm Draught, Tord's twin. So, okay, we're gonna take 10 minutes. Go to the bathroom, refill your drinks, smoke them if you got them, kiss your spouse, etc., etc. And we will be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are here with the second half of tonight's episode. We are now joined by Baron. Welcome, Baron. So I kind of went over already with you off camera, or not off camera, but off on break, whatever you want to call it. Kind of where we were, brought you up to speed a bit. We are at the House Criminac Castle, held here in Shanin. You are preparing to be brought before the Duchess, Sketha Od Criminac. But before that happens, we're going to jump back in time. And when we were back out on the road, where the night after the ambush, I believe that Ari is up to something.
She finds Tord eating kind of basic rations, a Angorian delicacy of like blood sausage, like a hardtack, bread, root vegetables.
Yeah, and imagine. Okay, so it's probably like early-ish in the morning or late at night. It's dark, whatever it is. Ari's been out wandering, and maybe it was her time at this point to do the watch. But she's out there, kind of walking around silently, just looking. And she's kind of approaches the horses, in her roundabout tour of the camp, and that's when her eye falls on Tord's horse and what was hanging from it, this severed head. And she lets out this low growl and immediately stalks to it, grabs it by its hair and severs the tie that's holding it onto the horse. And we then see her stalking towards where Tord is having his repast. And maybe you see her before she gets to you, Tord, maybe you don't, but when she's only a few feet away from her, this head comes flying at you. 5 minutes back in your homeland and you become one of them? I thought you were different. Why did I even trust you? I should have known an orc never changes his tusks.
Kind of holding the head in his hands. There's not going to be enough hair to reattach this to my saddle now.
Good. Why would you want to?
Forgive me. Perhaps there's a cultural barrier here. Knights of the kingdom, when they collect a bounty, have to provide proof.
The proof doesn't mean you can be sharing it around and as a trophy on your horse. You're proud of this, are you? You're just like them.
What is this about? A head? How many? We rode by thousands of heads on our way here. What's one? It's an orc head. I thought you'd like that. I don't understand.
Of course you don't understand. You never understand.
Then help me. It's a head.
I think with that, Ari starts to stalk away, maybe towards, I guess maybe it's like there's too many people around at the point, or she suddenly stalks towards her tent, and before she gets there, she turns back. Well, are you coming or not?
Tord follows.
And leave that thing outside.
Tord sets it on his seat next to his plate. And he looks back. Now that's mine. And he walks away.
So Ari kind of enters her tent and she waits for you to come back in.
Yeah, Tord enters.
This is so weird. Before you even really kind of let the tent flaps close, she's already turning around and she's stripping her clothing.
Ari, what are you doing?
I'm showing you.
But no.
It's time you know.
Ari, I was married.
Oh, come on. And without even stopping, she's going to completely undress, basically. And you already knew that how modeled and disfigured her legs have been. Like they were like, even though they've been healed, they're still got these purple scars and jaggedness, like just never went away. And as she drops the tunic that she was wearing, you can see down her back these 3 viciously purple scars that go from one shoulder right down to the other hip. It's stark against the pale skin that she has. And
Ari,
no, I'm doing the talking. 60 years ago, yeah, the northern villages were being devastated by marauding orcs. Like your kin. My troop was sent in to help. Our intelligence sorely underestimated the number of orcs, and we were fiercely outnumbered. It decimated our forces. There's nothing we could do. But it was not before we took some of those bastards with us. I was the last alive, and I was gravely injured, so I ran. Somebody at least needed to get back and tell them what was happening here. But a pack of them, they came after me. But I managed to evade them long enough until they gave up. Well, all but one. All but one, that is. He was a monstrous brute. Eventually, he caught up with me. And I was in no condition at this point to fight him. But I tried. Oh, you can bet I tried. But he wasn't there to kill me, though. No. He had different sport in mind for me. With his great warhammer, he crushed my legs, hitting them over and over again, crippling me. And he laughed. He laughed as I tried to claw my way away from him. He just stood there. He just stood there and laughed. 2 strides was all it took. Was all it took for him to be right there over me again, smashing my legs again and again with his warhammer. My goddess, the pain. I almost passed out right there. I wish I had. Instead, I felt him rake my back with his massive claw, tearing my clothing. And before I knew it, I was lying on my back, rocks digging into my burnt and bleeding wounds. And he was looming over me, the severed heads of my fallen companions dangling from his belt, staring lifeless at me with their still dripping blood dropping on my skin. I could feel his foul breath on my face and his wet weight crushing me. Oh, goddess, I have never wished so hard for death to claim me as I did in that moment. And I think with that, she kind of just collapses down. And that is what your head brings back to me.
I'm sorry. I did not know.
Of course you didn't. Why would I tell you these things?
Because I'm your friend. Whether I look like it or not, what you see in your nightmares, I am your friend. I have fought by your side. I have slain an enemy, any enemy, for my friends. I cannot begin to even try to understand. I never will, and I know this. But I can try, and I can do better at being your friend.
Tord, I can't see that thing.
You won't have to. I'll take care of it. You said I've been back here for 5 minutes and I become one of them.
That's what it
I
looks
must reassure you, Ari. I am not one of them. My people are proud. My people are honorable, brave, courageous. What you describe is heinous, disgusting, foul. That's not my people. And then pointing at the tent flap, but like towards the head. That was his people. And that's why his head dangles from my bridle. I understand that you don't want to see it. But it shames him and all those who were loyal to him to see his head hung from a horse's ass. You deserve vengeance. You deserve justice. And I hope your story ends that way. But know for certain that I meant you no harm. It was callous and inconsiderate, and I know better now. And I'm sorry. May I be excused?
She just nods. Her back is still kind of towards you at this point. She just nods and thank you, Tord. I'm going to stay here if it's all right.
Of course. Tord will leave and beeline for the head. And probably the whole camp, because we're all rather close together by this fire. Here's just a raucous eruption of rage, and a loud, like pulpy thud, as Tord just whips this fucking head at the closest object, tree or stone. And he'll stalk off into the woods for his own time.
Wow. Yeah, both of you, please take a point of inspiration. That was incredible. So this scene finishes playing out with Ari alone in her tent, Tord storming off into the woods surrounding the camp, somewhat of a rage. And we head back now to the rest of the group in this apartment, far away in miles and time now, where you now prepare yourselves to meet the Duchess, Sketha Od Krimenak. You know that they are dealing with a grave threat already, and an enormous swell in their population from all of the refugees who have come here looking for safety. But you know that there is time being made for you to have the chance to speak with her. Is there anything specific that you would like to do before you come before the Duchess?
If we had time beforehand, Tord would have went to see his sister or his brother. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. One of them raises horses for the Duchess, my younger brother. I would have sought him out, being as I would imagine he's probably the closest to the capital. I can pull up his name. Masaka Toll, Toll.
Toll. Okay. Yes. Okay.
I can send you his blurb if you want.
I think I have it. I have little notes that I made about it. I was just rereading through some of them. Okay. So, all right. So I'm gonna give you the bit here. You'll find all of this out whenever you seek out members of your family here. You find when you go to look for your brother, you don't find him. Instead, however, you find your mother, Ilya, and one of your sisters, Tonra Od Krimenak. She is the one who married Wongaran Od Krimenak, the cousin of Sketha. And I have pictures. Like a mom with a photo album. Hold, please.
This is the first character I've ever made who had family, so I'm excited about this.
That's good. Okay, so you have a set of twin sisters.
Correct.
And this is the twin sisters that you have. This is, let's see if I can get their names right.
Tanra and Keza.
Mm-hmm. Keza, I believe, is the one on the left.
She would have been.
She's the one who married into the nobility. No. Yes. Tonra is the one who married into the nobility.
Tonra married into nobility. Keza was the more pious type.
Okay, so yeah, the one on the left is Tonra. The one on the right is Keza. And then your mother, Ilya.
Oh, picturesque.
She is
vision of beauty.
Yeah. She's not a stern woman, but she's a hard woman. She's a fairly typical orc mother, Angorian mother. She's, hard but firm but fair. I guess would probably be the best way to describe her. So you come up to I don't know, maybe if there's a corral or something that your brother typically runs, but you find it empty. And the house that adjoins to the corral, you find, whenever you knock on the door, Your mother is the one who answers. She answers the door, and you can see for a moment kind of a range of emotions play out on her face as she's trying to, I guess, see if who is standing before her is really there. Toad? What is it?
I know you had. Go ahead. Sorry.
Is it you?
I know you confused our name the time when we were kids, but I only see 2 of us missing. And, well, I hope you didn't forget me that quickly.
Toad, please, come in. Come in! She kind of grabs you roughly about the arm and kind of pulls you through the door. Tonra, look! Look who's come. It's Toad. And your sister comes and she embraces you. And then your mother wraps her arms around the both of you together. And your mother and your sister begin to sob.
I fear I'm missing something. Is something wrong? Has something happened? There's like an immediate kind of drop in towards brow as the emotions are kind of pouring into him from this hug. He's a catalyst at this point.
Belia kind of turns to your sister and says, "Get him something to eat, please. He must be famished. Toad, you should sit down."
I'd like to stand, and I'm not hungry.
Suit yourself.
What has happened?
Kaza and Toll they've both ridden out with the warriors to confront the Thunderhoof Raiders. They haven't come back yet. It's been...
How long have they been gone?
It's been 5 days. But Todd, that's not all, Todd. Todd, your father was killed trying to get us here.
Streams of tears kind of part the dirt that has found its home in the crevices of Tord's face.
She reaches out and kind of grabs your hand with her own. You can feel kind of the calluses of her hands from years and years of hard work. He killed 3 raiders, but his injuries were too grave, Tord. But he got us here. He got us here safely.
Do you have his axe?
She just nods without saying anything. And then she moves to a corner where there's clearly a weapon that has been wrapped in a blanket. She brings you the entire bundle and lays it on the table.
Tord peels back the bundle, and it is a simple woodcutter's axe. Practical, well used, well maintained. The blade oiled and wetted for its keen edge. Tord will pick it up. I swear he spent more damn time with this than he ever did with any of us. But I can't say that, because he was a damn good father.
He was. I think you remember the times that he was away more than you remember the times that he spent with us. He was proud of all of us, of all of you, Tord. spent as much time as he did in the woods, chopping this timber, hauling it back and forth, that we could be comfortable, that we would not have to worry where our next meals came from. But
I will find them.
find who?
I'll bring them home.
Oh, yes. Yes. Kaza and Tol, of course. Tord, I don't like the thought of you going out after them. But I am your mother.
Mother, you
and
didn't stop me from leaving the first time.
She laughs because she was
You
going to
won't be able
say
to stop me this time either.
the exact same thing. She agrees, and she kind of sighs as she kind of nods. Too true. You were born with a thick skull, son. It served you well.
That's the first time anyone's ever said that. I'm sorry I've been gone for so long, Mom. My path has taken me far from here.
But it has also brought you back. For however long that is. I'm afraid that
I fear it would.
home is not what it once was.
No. I plan to meet with the Duchess.
She kind of
Plan to
arches an
see
eyebrow.
what aid I can offer. I'm a sworn knight to House Pendrake of Racenfleot, far to the west. These are dark
Nice.
times, but they're not over.
Do you command a company of men?
Something like that.
I hope you brought many soldiers with you. This host, this Thunderhoof tribe. There's a great number of them, Tord. I've never seen the likes of their numbers before.
I've done some thinking. I've squared off with one of these chieftains of the Thunderhoof tribe. I haven't been here in a long time, but I know damn well that those wild savages don't do long without a leader to hold them together. I'm sure the Duchess has thought of this as well. A horde without a head is nothing. It's vermin. It scatters the sight of the light. I do not lead a host of men, but I do share my time with a group of people very skilled and talented at accomplishing goals, whether or not there's consequences thereafter. I don't know what exactly we can do, but I'm going to do something.
Well, the Duchess. Meeting with the Duchess. You have been busy since you've been away.
A lot's happened.
I can see it in your face.
Nothing would bring me more joy than to tell you of my tales and my adventures. I fear they will cause you more grief than joy.
It's a few more gray hairs. But there will be time.
I will return. I will return with my family, and I will bring it to you. And he puts his hand on the axe. By my father's name, I swear it.
She once again places her hand on yours. And she says, Tord, make me one promise. That in the effort to recover 2 of my children, that I do not lose a third.
The divine gates are much too impatient for the likes of me. But they will have to wait. I believe somebody already has claim over my head, Mother, and it is not any of them.
She nods, not fully understanding exactly what you mean. But you are able to take your leave with the promise that you will return.
I am going to take the axe with me. I want to say that this is like a customary thing, but I would like to like ad lib something when we have more time.
Absolutely, sure.
Please carry on.
Okay, was there anything else that anyone wanted to do or take care of before you were brought before the Duchess?
Yeah, I kind of want to hear what the ad lib is since this is a Torch show and it hasn't been for a long time. So, Baron, like, don't hold back, man.
I feel like I've been talking for a while. I had the scene with Ari and then my own scene. I don't want to.
We're literally in your home.
I imagined I came here by myself. I like you guys. I like you guys a lot, but
No. I as a viewer want to hear what's going on.
gotcha. Okay. Well, if you guys don't mind, I'll keep going. Tord moves to a more I don't know how religious the Shaneen people are, but I know we do have temples and designated areas for the appropriate worship. I am going to go there and kneel. What is the god of justice's name again? I forget.
Goddess of Justice is Evendel.
Avondale. I kneel before actually getting to I picture a statue with like a brazier burning in front of it, kind of kept alit with, not only sticks but also incense and various, mood, not necessarily elevating but stabilizing aromas. Like very homey smells, like a leather or something of that nature. Tord undoes the bundle, revealing his father's axe, and I'm sure there's like a bowl of holy water, and he kind of anoints it, sprinkling drops of it along the handle. He kneels before the statue, and this is quieter. He's saying this below, like the din of whomever's around, a prayer, if you will. Evendel, goddess of justice, it has been some time before I have knelt at your altar. In my life, I have seen great injustices, and I blamed you. For how could a goddess of justice let these terrible crimes go unpunished? And so I sought out these evildoers, and I punished them. And I know now that that was not my place to make these decisions. But I did not do these acts alone, for I've come to understand that it was you that guided my hand. And he looks down at the axe. The very way you guided my father's hand. Justice is not black and white. And sometimes those who seek to enact justice fall on the wrong side. I believe I will be doing things that fall out of your view into the shadows. But know that the gods of old that I swore and pledged my allegiance to, they know who you are. And they know what I am to do for you. He sets the axe over the brazier, kind of. It's not going to be perfect because the axe is heavier, so it's a little offset, but the flames start to lick up the sides, and the kind of varnished handle begins to char. But it doesn't burn immediately, as if the last kind of faint remnants of whatever magic that his father had instilled from his very, sweat off his brow is purged into the air. And for a moment, Tord thinks he feels a hand on his shoulder, briefly, comforting. The kind of grasp is androgynous. It's hard to say if it's male or female. He wants to believe it's his father, but it could be Evandel herself. I swore this oath in front of my mother. I swore an oath in front of the trees. And now I swear an honor-bound oath in front of you. I will bring my family home. I will help my friends reforge the sword of Vykaril. And I will bring justice to these lands. By the old gods and the new, I swear it. And I think at this time is when the axe hand, or the axe handle, would engulf, and whatever kind of structural integrity it has kind of breaks at the axe head, which falls into the brazier. The handle itself kind of becoming one of the sticks and kindling that chars the fire. But the axe head begins to glow red. And as the axe head begins to smolder and glow red hot, molten almost, Tord will take an ungloved hand and grasp it from the flames. His thumb kind of rolling against an uneven surface as glyphs of a language he does not understand appear along the blade. He takes it, and in a very ritualistic fashion, he's going to scar his face on one side, removing a portion of his cheek, and very much so giving the left side of his face a more ghastly, skeletal appearance. Not like completely removing all the flesh, but certainly scarifying, if you are aware of what that is. And then throws the axe head back into the fire and walks out. And I'm done. I'm done talking for a while. Someone take over.
Wow. Again. Wow. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Is there anything else that anybody
All
wants
right,
to
that's
do?
a wrap. Let's call it a day.
All right. Good night, everyone.
All right, good night.
So does anybody have anything else that they would like to do? Baron included. Before you go before the Duchess.
I can keep going. I got more to say.
I'd like to collectively get our story straight.
Could be a good
That'd be
idea.
super helpful. Yeah. Yeah. Because the part that you missed, Baron, riding into Orcville with our resident orc not being present meant that we were all having to But nonetheless, so I think as everyone's finally finishing like they're getting ready, you know, like you said earlier, to a lesser extent than we might for a different Duchess. I think Dane is the first one ready and is sort of sitting impatiently, leaned against the table in this small apartment, kind of tapping his foot and watching the different torches that are lit outside, as they sort of move in this pattern of the guards walking, and he's trying to keep time by that passing of the guard near the window, and just waiting for everyone to gather so that we can exactly speak about what we're going to talk to this Duchess about. Because at this point, I think it's become painfully obvious that if we're honest to anybody, they either think we're crazy or they're going to burn us at a stake. And that's kind of the best options. So, yeah, just waiting for everybody to get here.
So John shows up. This is the next morning, right? After we get to the place and toward.
I just assumed it was really late night.
Yeah, still the same day, but yeah,
Okay.
late at night.
Okay.
She was meeting with us today in the evening, or was it tomorrow?
Meeting with you the same day that you arrived, because some of you were rather incessant
Gotcha.
on that needing to be the case.
So yeah, I think Sir John comes in, and he is not wearing his armor, but he is wearing some nice, liveried kind of clothing, making sure everybody knows House Lightnor is up in the mix here. And I think he sees Dane, and he says, "So Dane, quite a many trials we've faced these past days."
Yes. And it's strange to think that this may just be the beginning.
You're new to battlefields. How do they strike you?
Is it strange to say that I'm becoming a little numb to?
No, not strange. Something to keep in mind, though. Never forget that you are becoming dulled to this pain.
I still feel it. I just try to let it consume me a little less.
That's good. The battle will not be won if we are consumed before the end of it.
It's strange to think that Vykaril is so sundered that we can't afford to. I think if you had asked me a year ago, I would have thought that the thing of legend is saving a town. Maybe beyond that, a duchy. And yet here we are, the 5 of us charged with saving everything.
Yes, quite a task. I think we shall have need of an army before the end. And there are banners we could call even now, but we will have to do better, I believe. Hopefully, reforging this sword of yours will help us do that.
It's very strange to think that the cost of peace could be paid in so much blood.
Shame and violence, the only true motivators that I'm aware of. And shame only goes so far.
No. Hope. Hope is the greatest motivator.
Yes, but how is hope embodied in the world? Is it shame against the oppressors, or is it violence against them? One way or another. Only those two will displace what exists.
So I think when you ask that question as you're talking, and this might be the first time Dane's ever touched you in this way, he grabs your chin and turns it to a mirror that's hanging on the wall, so that as your question of how's it embodied in this world, like you can see yourself and Dane and maybe some of the others like walking into the room in that moment. And then he just takes a seat at the table for everyone to join us for this discussion.
I think Sir John, after Dane starts to move toward the table, Sir John hangs back just for half a step, looking at the group in front of him, and mutters to himself, "Violence it is then."
Yeah, so you would have, I guess you would have seen, Ari would have walked in at that time when Dave was showing you the mirror. And this is probably the first time you've seen her today without the veil. I mean, it's now night. And her eyes are like there's dark circles under her eyes. Her eyes are sunken in. She looks like you were saying before, you know, how hope this doesn't consume us. She looks like something is definitely consuming her. But she sits down at the table. You guys were having a very intense chat.
If it was about who gets to kill me, you should wait for Ari because she's got in on it too.
First dibs, right here.
And I respect the dibs, I really do. But like, we've all been traveling together. I've given you all ample reasons to not like me. I think it's fair to give everyone an even chance.
No, I like you quite well. We just have to resolve the duel to the death. It's going to be tragic.
True underdog story.
Speaking of underdogs, we are heroes of the realm who have yet to fulfill our quest.
The more I think about it, the more I start to think that this isn't just a quest we complete and it's over. This is a life. This is This is a big deal.
True enough, but I would rather not spend the entire life just forging the sword. I would prefer to forge it and then do something with it.
That is the ambition, and I'm with it.
The White Witch told us that we could accomplish one of those tasks here. Is there any indication what she was talking about?
No.
Jeremy, I am the blade of Vykaril? Or was I...
Oh shit.
I didn't write that down. Crap.
That was written down somewhere.
I've got it somewhere.
I'm in my third notebook that I've been using for this campaign.
So...
I have the the riddle, the quest that the White Witch laid out for you. I have that part.
Yeah.
I've
You
got
are
it.
looking for the steel of a conquered enemy turned ally.
Angorian steel is famous. Camagel was originally formed with Angorian steel. I can guarantee that with the current siege of Shannon, steel is going to be a very, very short commodity.
I would assume our enemies have some store of steel that we could make use of.
This is true. But somehow or another, I feel like the White Witch was being more metaphorical than anything. The steel of a conquered foe. To resolve, perhaps? Maybe we need more than just... This isn't my area of expertise, but I've seen too much weird shit to just believe we're supposed to be making a fucking sword.
I pull the rusty river version of Camagel out, and I mean, we got to do something. But the end game of why we're here might be getting a little ahead of ourselves before we discuss the talking to the Duchess part. In your disgruntled stupor, Tord, I may have told her that we come bearing news for her, which in a sense we do. But there's only so much of it we can share without being thrown out on our ears.
And you're not wrong. But perhaps we can also use the current state of things to our advantage. You're right. Our use of black magic and various other means of combating our foes looks very bad to everyone. But perhaps the fact that everyone's being slaughtered and kept within these walls can give us a brief moment of reprieve from these accusations. I will
Right.
admit that it will probably come back to bite us in the ass when it's all said and done.
I more meant when they asked if we were emissaries of the crown, and the only real news from the crown that we have is a secret that the sword's been missing for years, and that a witch told us that we needed to come here to get part of it because the queen doesn't have very long.
I mean, I can lie. I'm not very good at it.
Maybe since there's been no news brought here, some scant news will seem relevant.
I'm sure telling anything other than thousands of Angorians dying will be at least appreciated. I don't know. I'm sure you've all noticed I'm not exactly the courtly type.
Maybe we could just wait for her to ask questions and then try and answer them rather than proffering anything. Get her talking about what's going on here and turn the conversation to her needs.
Well, I guess
There-
that brings me to my second talking point here. What is our commitment level? I know you owe no allegiances here, and I don't hold you to that. You have an out.
I am here to see to it that no one else kills you.
I suppose that's comforting.
It should be. I'm a damn good protector.
Second to none. So are we offering our services to the Duchess? Are we going to attempt to subdue this Thunderhoof tribe?
Are the 5 of us?
I've been thinking about this. And I'm eager to share what I know, at least about our enemy. The Thunderhoof tribes are just that. Tribes. They're mean, they're stupid. The only thing they know is force. So to create a horde that big, you need one guy. And he's got to be a real good talker. Real strong, too, presumably. We have to kill him, and the horde will fall.
Do
If
we
it
seek
was
him
that-
out or draw him in?
Well, if it was that simple, wouldn't the Duchess have already done it?
A small force can sometimes accomplish what a large army could not.
That, and I'm sure that the honor of Angorian swords is well above what we mean to do. What I mean to do. They are honor bound. I am some road knight, newly knighted, come to oust a tyrant from a field. I just want my friends to come with me. As selfish as that is. And he will actually look to Ari and he's very proud, back straight, and when he looks to Ari, his shoulders kind of slump and his posture shifts, if only briefly.
I think Ari notices that. But she doesn't say anything right away. And instead, I think she'll turn probably to Sir John and Sir Dane. There's also the matter that the Duchess is thinking that we're coming here from the crown.
Well,
But the fact is, I don't think anything was coming from the crown. We didn't even know what was going on here until we started traveling.
right.
So she's under the misunderstanding that, they care.
Well, in it depends on how you look at it. There is
Okay.
the crown is missing something, right?
Aye.
And the crown has taken counsel with the White Witch, who knows that part of that thing is to be found here. If Shanine falls before we're able to find this thing, it lowers the chances of the crown ever having it.
Aye, but this Duchess is under the assumption that an army is coming to help.
No, she asked, well, her valet asked if there was. And we didn't say there was, we just didn't say there wasn't. And in fairness, there's so much darkness between there and here that even an army would be tied up. That's just going to be one of those questions we have to talk around.
I know we don't look like we have a very good chance here for everyone, but I will say that Duchess Kribanak is probably very desperate. And I don't want to abuse that, but we kind of have to.
Did someone tell her that the queen was bringing an army and we were its heralds?
No.
Oh, thank God, because I really, really was hoping nobody said that.
It's just in a moment of desperation, in that total darkness, it's easy to mistake a candle for a sunrise.
Well, I think we're a little more than a candle.
It's five of us versus an army.
It's 5 of us versus one guy and his group of guards, if we can make it all the way there.
Surrounded by an army.
There's
And
more
even-
than just orcs that live beyond those mountains.
Tord, I'm not saying I won't go.
I know you won't.
Ask me to go now, and we go. I'm just saying that we ran into one group of them. And they nearly killed all of us.
I didn't say it was going to be easy, and that's why I'm giving you an out. Because I know this isn't an ask. We're friends, but I won't ask anybody to ride to their death.
Well, we've learned our lessons about them anyway. I think next time will be smoother. If we catch them by surprise, which will be necessary to get close enough anyway, I don't see the problem in telling the Duchess that we've been sent by the Queen to take care of her problem, and she sent sufficient forces.
Perhaps not to solve her problem, but gauge it.
Oh no, why not solve it?
We're not really good at that.
Kill the leader, disperse the bandits to the winds.
All right.
Well, see, now it sounds stupid when you say it like that.
Those are both very valid.
So John to himself is like, I was being completely serious.
Those are both very valid ideas, and we should definitely keep them in the bag of things that we consider.
I guess truthfully, I would like to say I appreciate your counsel, all of you, and I apologize for my poor mind state at our previous encounter with the Duchess. I'll see to it that it doesn't happen again.
Let's just go and see what her expectations of us are.
Agreed.
And if nothing else, if we can't promise an army on behalf of the crown, we still have a barony to raise a small force from.
We have made some friends in the capital.
And I believe if we were to word everything appropriately, trying to find this guy's name. What was the name of the guy that caught me staring at the queen?
Sir Dokern. His name is Claudel. Yes.
Okay.
There we go. Dokern Glodel, the Baron of Merrick.
You're right. I think were we to phrase things appropriately, the Baron of Merrick would be willing to step in and help. He's very adamant about protecting the Queen. And from what the White Witch told us, if we don't act quickly, or even if we do, the Queen doesn't have much time. So we have resources. I don't know how we go about tapping all of them, or armies. And look, I read about it in storybooks. But what I do know is, given the opportunity, if we have to ride across the entire continent again, if it means accomplishing what you set out for toward, there's not one amongst us who won't ride with you without even being asked. Besides, if you don't ask us, you can't turn us down. You're kind of stuck with us. I mean, even Ari hasn't killed you yet.
The usual response. Fall silent instead.
Good then. Let's go talk to a Duchess we don't know about a war we're not fit for to take on an enemy we don't know much about.
We've been worse off.
We've done this before,
We really have done this before.
and we're
If
still
all
here.
goes wrong, we'll just depose her as well.
You should keep working on.
I never
James.
really caught on to the courtly life.
Takes a swig of his ale. That's none of my business.
Ready for the meeting yet, everybody? All hands on deck.
Shall we?
Okay.
Jeremy's got this look on his face like, oh dear.
This is going swimmingly. I can't wait. So you ready yourselves, the 5 of you, and when you are summoned, you make your way deeper into the keep, probably 2 or 3 floors above where you were able to relax beforehand. You are led to what you assume is normally the throne room, but at the moment it appears to be also the war room. There's a large table that has been set up that dominates most of the open space, and it is covered with maps of the area surrounding Shanine and the entire duchy. And you can see little carved pieces that must represent the various different forces of the Thunderhoof tribe, as well as what remains of the defenses here and that have answered the call for House Kremenak. When you are brought inside, you're told to wait by the door as the steward, the valet, moves to go speak with the Duchess. You can see that there are several individuals who are huddled around this table, several of them in full armor, a few of them in robes or vestments of various different deities. These appear to be the generals and the advisors that work for the Duchess. The Duchess herself, the orc that this valet goes to speak with, you can see is dressed in not heavy armor, but armor nonetheless. You can see the fur of a wolf draped over her shoulders. She carries a sword on her hip, as most of these individuals do. They are armed. And she is rubbing at her temple, this kind of shaved side of her head. She's rubbing against her temple in exhaustion, it seems. This individual leans in and speaks to her for just a moment. You can hear that what the conversation is arguing between the advisors as to which course of action needs to be taken next. As this individual announces your arrival, she holds her hand up, and very quickly the entire room falls quiet. And she turns to look in your direction, and she says, "It's about damn time. Your emissaries from the crown, come here. Make space around the table." She kind of shoos some of the others so that you can see what's going on. "What are your numbers? Archers, cavalry, infantry. How many have you brought? Quickly, speak."
So John steps forward. My lady, what you see here is adequate, I assure you.
Adequate for...
Dealing with your problem with these war bands.
It's as he's saying this, I move towards the table that they have these like pieces set out, and I'm looking for one that looks similar to the guy that we killed. What the hell was his name? I don't know if we ever got his name.
The raiding party?
Yeah, whom I decapitated.
Yeah, you don't see anything on the map indicating the presence of them in that area.
Is there anything on the table that would indicate? So, like looking at it from, the historical diagrams, the pictures in the fairy tale books, how a lot of the bad guys, right? They're never leading necessarily from the front. So I'm looking for like that piece that sits to the back or has a small contingent around it that doesn't make sense when everything else is dispersed. Something to sort of point out a leader. As I sort of watch Tord's eyes flick across the board, I'm looking for it in that vein.
I will raise my hand, holding a leather satchel, kind of dripping from one seam to end. I will look to Ari, kind of sorrowful, hoping that you get the understanding that I'm about to pull this head back out.
Yeah, she understands and she looks away.
The mangled remains of the decapitated head fall into Tord's hand. One head should be enough to have purchased your time. My companion, Sir John, here is right. The 5 of us are plenty.
Because you took out one raiding party?
No. Simply because we're the best the crown has to offer.
You must be fucking joking.
Oh, my Duchess. I wish I was.
That bitch of a queen sent us 5 warriors in response to our calls for help?
Yes.
You can see toward a very familiar reaction. You can see this rage starting to well up in her body, and she's doing everything that she can to not let it overflow.
Duchess, before you think that we're the only aid being sent to you, to speak plainly, we were sent here for a different reason. seeing the state of what's going on, we're simply offering our services to you.
So you didn't come on behalf of the Queen. You were...
We came directly from the Queen.
Listen, whatever your errand is, I don't have time. And she kind of gestures towards the battle mat, like spread out on the table. As you can see, we're a little occupied at the moment. Literally.
And as you can see, you're not getting anywhere.
She rocks back on her heel to look at you, Tord, as if you had just belched out loud.
Forgive my intrusion, Duchess, but you're losing a war. And you need help. So don't turn it away when it shows up at your doorstep.
You have a set on you. Look, you're right. We do need help. That's why we asked for it. If you are what happened to land in our laps because the gods saw fit, then so be it. Might as well stand around and learn something. We'll see where we can use you.
Could I use my know your enemy ability to like study this map and sort of anticipate what she's going to say in terms of like her next strategic choice or her next tactical choice?
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. That's a great usage of that.
Cool. Yeah, so I think, do you have a specific thing in mind that she's going to say next, or you want me to just make something up?
I do. I kind of know where the stalemate kind of is currently. So then, yeah, you can piece together what you want from that, if you'd like.
Cool. Yeah, so I think I'm looking at the map as this is going on, and like I'm looking at where Tord pointed Tord was looking for a piece that wasn't there, and where Dane was looking for the leader or whatever. But I'm also looking about how the Duchess said they were besieged right now, overwhelmed, and so I'm looking at the city of Shaneen and everything around there. And then right as she starts to open her mouth and talk to an advisor about a strategy or whatever, I say, looks like you've got a stalemate over there.
As a matter of fact, we were discussing it right before you arrived.
What could you do if the stalemate were resolved? What would you be free to provide to the people or the countryside?
From what our scouts tell us, much of the countryside has been burned, razed. No crops have been spared. Doesn't even seem like they're interested in taking them. Most of the livestock has been slaughtered. Those that we haven't managed to bring here, of course. The horses are growing restless. They're not used to being pinned in the city walls like this. They need room to range. The people here are... The stores won't last much longer. We have to make a decision. We're split. There are those of us here at the table that think that we should ride out and meet this host in pitched warfare to confront them directly. Others who think that we should keep all of our numbers here to defend the city, wait for the attack that is inevitable.
So your choices, if I'm understanding this correctly, is to ride off in glory and die, or stay cooped up and die. Those don't seem like choices to me.
We're here to discuss our options. That's what we're doing.
So maybe you need a third option.
And what would that option be, Elf? We have no trees to hide amongst.
Tord,
Please, let us look past our heritage for the sake of our mutual goal. We always have another option. We don't have to die.
What can you tell me about the forces massed here where the stalemate exists?
They're gathering in number. They still have raiding parties that are roaming the countryside, but there's not much left for them to take. So they're starting to draw back and gather here. And she points to the point that you had seen on the map where most of these markers had kind of been clustered together. They're forming camps here, here, and here. There's like 3 or 4 of these little clusters kind of along the border, fairly equidistant from Shanin. Our scouts tell us that they are beginning to gather their strength in numbers here. They have fortified their positions, building palisades or using whatever was left over from the towns that they razed, the outposts. Something is happening soon. They're changing their tactics. But
have you thought
don't know
about
what.
slipping through here and circling around behind them?
To what end?
An ambush.
In order to ambush their forces, we would have to have more numbers than we have currently. We've lost a great deal of soldiers.
I think Sir John looks at everyone, but looks at Tord last. And he says, we'll take care of it. We'll return in 2 days' time with good news.
So, the 5 of you are going to slip behind the lines of the enemy and wipe them out single-handedly.
Yeah, something like that.
So, this is something you offer to do freely, as a second thought, whatever it is that brought you here first. You'll have to forgive me if I'm more than just a little curious about what it is that 5 individuals who wish to take on the entire Thunderhoof tribe on their own, what task it was that brought you here in the first place.
We need your steel.
And
The
Gorian
generals
steel specifically.
kind of laugh. As you came all this way for weapons, and armor.
No,
No.
we came all this way to help you.
I don't think that we understand one another.
I may be mistaken, but I am a man of action. I understand the field of battle, and I suspect that you are similar in that regard, yes?
I am no man of action,
Of course not.
but I know my way around a sword, yes, if that's what you're asking.
And perhaps here in this room, hunkered over this map, is not where we can come to understand one another. Perhaps it can only happen after we've accomplished some deeds.
So you want me to test you? See if you're worthy?
Please, by all means.
No. No.
I think Sir John kicks Dane's heel
No.
under the table.
We've been tested.
I agree with Dane. We've proved our worth. Best case scenario, we do what you need us to do. Worst case scenario, we gave you a distraction. Make light of it, I guess.
Look, if the 5 of you want to ride straight into the mouth of hell, it doesn't make a difference to me. If you think you can pull this off, I'll give you the chance to prove it. Whether you've proven yourself or not to someone else, including the Queen. Her opinion doesn't carry much weight out this far. If you can pull this off, then you'll have my respect, and whatever steel you want, I'll bury you in it.
We appreciate your time, Duchess.
Do you even know what you're looking for? Do you even know who it is that you've volunteered to hunt and execute?
Ooh, can I make a roll combined with the know your enemy thing to actually guess who it is?
Sure.
I just realized I haven't even pulled out my dice yet tonight. Okay, hold on. Let's do this. And if I've got advantage, you better believe I'm gonna, or inspiration or whatever, you better believe I'm gonna use it. I have 1. Okay. I don't know. Would this be like a? I don't know what kind of check this should be.
So what does know your enemy typically do? How does that read?
It is observe a target for 1 minute to learn their power level and 2 qualities. And then there's a list of stuff. But it feels to me like kind of a wisdom sort of thing.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, wisdom or intelligence. You're either kind of taking a guess, or you're kind of observing the clues that are around you to make a determination. So it could be even investigation, or what the hell? History, even, if you wanted to go wisdom.
History, you said? I could do history. The dream would be if I could do insight, but history is fine. Let me roll that and see how we turn out here. 20. Dirty 20.
Okay. So, through what you have witnessed, what you see here on the table, what you see written, just what you've overheard since arriving here, you managed to piece together that the Thunderhoof tribe is under the leadership of a Khan, this warlord. That's his title, his official title. And his name is, ready for it? Suringsatan, the headhunter. I will put it in chat.
Thank you.
Are you ready for it? What? No.
Suringsatan, the headhunter. He seems to be the Khan, the warlord of the Thunderhoof tribe.
So I think I probably would not know the name off the top of my head, but I can tell at least that that's Suringsatan is the leader of the entire band, like the one that if we cut off the head, the rest of them will melt away.
Well, that's what you guys said.
Okay, yeah, just wanted to make sure we're talking about the same.
Totally
Specifically, that's what Tord said.
Yeah, that was
It'll be
just
fine. It's fantasy. So I think then I'm looking over here and I'm like, well, the forces arrayed there, if they're gathering together, they're a war band. They can't be using the peerless strategies of castled knights, for example, that's probably where the Khan is located. And if I were to judge or guess, I would venture to say that throughout our travels in the land, we've noticed perhaps a moniker along the lines of headhunter or something. Am I along the right lines?
Yes, that's what he's known by in some circles. Name is Suringsatan.
Suringsatan. Well,
He is known as the Khan, and he is not to be trifled with lightly. They say he is
from what I
half-giant.
understand, half-giant, really? Well, people say I'm 10 feet wide.
They're sure you're not just
So-
mentioning your ego.
I flash a smile and I look over at Tord and I say, I'm somewhat underfamiliar with the customs of the land, but from what I understand, perhaps Suringssatan's head will soon be upon your table.
And she kind of folds her arms across her chest, and she says, "And what of the witch that he calls his mate? Did you kill her too?"
Witches don't scare us.
Very well. You bring me the head of the Khan and his witch, the Witch of War. And I will give you whatever steel you are after. If you die, I'm not coming to look for you.
I think Sir John extends his forearm for clasping, and he says, "We won't die."
She shakes her head side to side in disbelief, and then reaches out and clasps your forearm and gives it a firm shake. There might have been a time when I had your level of confidence. I hope it serves you better than it has served me.
I think Sir John looks around at everyone else and then back to the Duchess. Any last words of advice before we embark?
He says, "There's someone that I think maybe you should meet before you go. She arrived not long before you did." And she kind of gestures to someone who leaves the room for a moment and returns just a little while later with another woman, this one human. Well, I say that, but she is kind of gray of skin, pale, and her eyes they glow with firelight. She wears a suit of very finely crafted full plate mail, and she enters the room, and you can feel the temperature in this room rise. She kind of steps in and looks at the five of you before coming over to join you at the table. The Duchess gestures towards her, and she says, "This is Ash. She is an emissary, I am told, much like yourselves. Although she serves Thorn, which all of you would know. Thorn is the name of the god of war." She studies the five of you for a moment, and she speaks. And as she speaks, you can feel the heat radiating from her. "Thorn has sent me to tell you that you must stop this meaningless slaughter. He wants war. But what is happening here is a massacre. It cannot continue. You must end the suffering of these people.
Is Thorn a specifically Angorian god, or is
No,
Thorn like part of the Vykarilian pantheon?
he is just kind of worshipped as the god of war at large, but specifically, he is also a part of the virtuous divinity, which is worshipped by many of the Vykarilians. I don't know if he has shared that information with you or not, but Tord has actually received a boon from Thorn, given to him by an avatar of Thorn in the dream that he had while you were on the melee field at the tournament.
I don't exactly remember what the boon was.
The sword that
I'm
you
looking
carry?
it out. Oh, okay. That's what I thought it was, but I thought I
Yeah.
got the sword before that.
Mm-mm.
I don't know if I've ever explained it to anybody, so.
Yeah.
Does she recognize the weapon?
I would say so. She might not say anything out loud unless it was asked of her.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't have brought it up. Your liege. He sends you to the people of Shannon to aid them. And our goals are similar. Is it to assume you ride with us?
What is your
And
plan?
Well, I think killing the Khan and his witch wife should suffice in a devastating enough blow to separate and push these tribes apart. If we're going behind enemy lines, it shouldn't be hard to sow the seeds of discord, at least enough between people that didn't get along unless someone was threatening to kill them. We do that, kill the Khan. The organized tactics and strategy of the militia here at Shannon should prove more formidable, even with their lesser numbers, through routing and superior maneuvers. Actual warfare.
Very well. Then I will ride with you. And together we will bring war. Proper war.
Do you have a name? Further than Ash.
No. I am known only as Ash. I gave up any ties to the mortal realm long ago.
Well, the pleasure is mine.
She kind of nods her chin down just once, in affirmation. So, you now have battle plans to make. Plans of how you're going to move through the enemy line, come around the back, locate Surink Satan and his witch wife, and kill them both. I think this is where we're going to go ahead and end the session this evening. So, you guys will have some time to think that over, make any preparations that you need to make, and then when we reconvene, sounds like you might be going on the hunt. So, thank you all very much for, once again, just a phenomenal session. Some of that role-playing was incredible, absolutely incredible, without a doubt. And yeah, I'm very excited to see where this is going to go next. I'm excited for this. So I'm going to pass things back over to my players so that they can give any kind of parting thoughts or plug anything else that they would like to plug, and then we're going to call it an evening. So we're going to start with Eli.
Hey everybody, this is Eli Kurtz. I don't know if you noticed just now, but we were playing a game together. I was one of the characters. My character's name was Sir John Lightnor. It was a great time. It was full of drama. I got to do the only dice roll of the session. All right. Such an honor. You can find me on social media and places like that, although I kind of I don't know, I feel like I'm getting over it. Anyway, External Containment Bureau is my Kickstarter. It's really cool. It's got officially 12 hours to go as of right now, so you have until tomorrow morning to back it if you're watching this live. It's going to be awesome. It's a game of paranormal investigation inspired by stuff like X-Files and the recent video game Control. And yeah, it's going to be really cool. So check it out, folks.
Excellent. Absolutely. Next up, we have Steve.
I also played in this game. That's it. No. So really great session. That scene in the tent, Karen was amazing. It was so good. And I'm really glad I didn't let you stall out on your axe burning, Baron. That was pretty intense as well. It's always a great time with you guys, and yeah, looking forward to the next session. Although I will say, Jeremy, if it's possible to bend the ear of the Duchess before we ride out, I'd like to do that like quickly at the beginning of next session.
Sure thing. Absolutely.
And then other than that, people should come check out Karen's game tomorrow night. And also, I'll be there. So I'm a player in that game too. Yay, me. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Gaming 2 nights in a row. That's always a good week. Unless there's a third night in a row and a fourth night in a row. And then it gets to be a little daunting. But it's fine. All right. Speaking of, next, Karen.
Yeah, this session was pretty intense. I think as soon as we leave the war room, Ari's going to punch Sir John real hard, because what the hell did he just get us into? But other than that, I think, yeah, no, this was great. I want to thank all of you guys for, letting me do that thing earlier. And thank you, Baron, for going with me on it. Yeah, like Steve said, got a game tomorrow night on my channel, Myth and Gears. So if you want to check it out. It's completely different from this. It's Harbinger science fantasy instead of, you know, high fantasy. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. I can't wait for the next session when we can let Eddard know what we've gotten him into.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there will be a little bit of stuff to catch up on with Eddard anyways next time. Because there's definitely some things in town that concern him. So, yeah, and again, Karen, seriously, that was phenomenal. That role-playing scene was unbelievable. Well done. Okay, last but certainly not least, especially because he didn't get the chance to do an intro in the beginning, Baron.
I played in some of this game, and I enjoyed the part that I got to play. Thank you guys for letting me get some time in the spotlight. It was much appreciated. Karen, your scene was fantastic, and I was very nervous. I feel like I had something to say, but it's I feel like I had my parents ready the stories for them for like, I've had that ready for like 14 months, year and 2 months. I wrote that down forever ago. So we've been trying to get here, and now that was very satisfying. So very, Sir John's my favorite character. I almost picture the scene where she says, "I won't come looking for you if you die." Is like when Princess Leia is like, "I love you," and Han Solo is like, "I know." Eli's like, "Well, we just won't die." It's like, these are the moments I live for. Thank you for having me. I had a great time, even though I only got to play in a limited part. It satiated me at least a little bit. So thank you for having me. Check out everyone else's channels, because they do great things out in this crazy RPG world. So stay safe.
Excellent. Yes, thank you very much, everyone. You guys are fantastic. I love playing this game with you guys. I love running this game for you. I love throwing things at you and seeing what you do with it, because it's always surprising. And like I said, I can't wait to see what you're going to do with what I have in store. So, also, I want to say thank you so much for anybody who tuned in with us this evening, whether you are watching live or whether you're watching at some point in the future. It sincerely does mean a lot to me. If you like this kind of content, like, subscribe, talk about it, share the links around, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, be here next time for the next episode, when things are surely not going to go wrong. Until
Eddard
then,
gets upset.
Indeed. Yep. But until then, until Eddard gets upset, your dice roll high, and your snacks always be within reach.